The tipping problem has troubled Americans for 3 decades. Hello everyone, Global Insights is back. Before we get into today's video, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had experience working as a waiter in the service industry? If the answer is yes, then congratulations, because you and I have both shared a very interesting and valuable experience in life. When I was in college, I, like many other young people, did manual labor at countless stores, fast food restaurants, or coffee shops. And it was those experiences that taught me the importance of labor as well as the value of money. To be honest, although it happens, I can't remember the last time I got a tip from a customer, because it almost never happens. But the story in America is completely the opposite. And without further ado, let's start learning about a strange headache for the people of the land of the stars and stripes. As a service user, when we tip, it's not really that hard to answer this question. It could be a beautiful day, a great restaurant, a perfect meal, attentive staff, a cozy atmosphere, or simply, we just want to round up the bill to make things fair. This is what we see in Vietnam, or Asia in general, Europe, the Middle East, Australia, and South America. However, it is very far away in the US. Because in the land of the stars and stripes, tipping is considered an unwritten rule. Mandatory. You heard right. It is sometimes even signed on the bill. Of course, you can still play the role of a hero with or without any number. But if that's the case, then you should prepare for a visual confrontation with the staff and be prepared to be lectured about generosity, which is an American value. So you better be ready to tip. So how much is enough? How much is a tip? Just add some extra change to the bill. Really? You must be dreaming. There is no such thing as a sunny spring. Although it is called a tip, in America everything is very clear. It is usually from 10 to 15% of the bill. Sometimes in fancy restaurants this number can be as high as 20%. Some of my dear viewers might say that this is absurd. So if you add in the tax, the bill for the wings will increase by 30%. Well, yes, that's right. But the thing is, if you go to eat a slice of pizza in New York, you should prepare $20 just to be sure. And I repeat, it is a slice of pizza, not a pizza. Simply put, tipping in America is a bit similar to buying a car in Vietnam. In Vietnam, because of the tax on tax and the fact that it is considered a luxury good, buying a car in this country is always much more expensive than in other countries. And the more expensive the car, the higher the price due to the tax percentage. Of course, eating and drinking in the US is not taxed up to 300% like cars in Vietnam. However, in essence, it is quite similar. To put it simply, if you and your wife go out to eat 2 bowls of pho at a Vietnamese restaurant for $30, you will end up spending about $40. But for example, on Valentine's Day, if you want to warm up your relationship, of course you have to choose a restaurant with a full menu of appetizers. With a $200 main course and dessert, your actual bill will be around $260 or even more. It is true that I have never seen a place in the world that is as bad as America. However, this is actually just the tip of the iceberg, because if we enjoy decent service and attentive staff, the mandatory 15% is not really that unfair. I and you certainly will not regret if we experience the 10-point service. But in fact, this is the black hole that we need to embrace our sadness. If any of my beloved audience has ever been to a security store in the US, you will certainly be familiar with the cold attitude of the staff. After hearing our order, they coldly turn the payment machine in front of us and ask us to choose the tip amount we want, usually 3 levels from 5, 10, 15% of the total bill value, then ask for a bank card to swipe to pay. To be honest, there are few, no reluctant feelings that can compare to times like this. The truth is that most Americans living here, let alone foreigners coming to visit or study like us, receive what they say is service to deserve that much tip. You didn't serve me at all. Why should I tip you when you're just doing your job, standing at the counter and paying near your feet? And this is even more terrifying and awkward. When restaurants in America still require tips and service, it's robbery without a gun. Perhaps somewhere on the internet, you have seen the form of restaurant while sitting in the car to order directly, and the calling device is installed in front of the restaurant. This is called try-true. This is a quick way to order, convenient for both the restaurant and the customer. The customer has to find a place to park and then go in to buy, and the restaurant doesn't have to spend a lot of money on parking space. In theory, it is a service that is almost completely cost-effective. But now, Americans driving into try-true stores are also required to add a tip. How the hell is this? I haven't even set foot in the restaurant and met the staff, and I'm already being charged an extra tip. It is not by chance that many of my American friends come to Vietnam and call the X-shaped country a true paradise of service. They have to acknowledge the diligence of the service staff, the quality of the food, the quality of the service, and the biggest plus point is that despite working so hard, no one asks you for a single extra tip. That should be the case, but perhaps now a question has popped up in everyone's mind. It sounds absurd, such a clear-cut story, without any reason. How could it happen so blatantly as a matter of course in America? And yes, of course, the culture of hospitality in America clearly has its very big reasons. Going back in history, there was a time when tipping was considered rude in America, specifically before the 19th century. The hotel industry in America was quite small. Tipping was considered offensive. Tipping was nothing more than a form of bribery for better rooms or better food. But as the service industry expanded in the mid-1800s, and with the rise of the middle class, waiters had to do more. As a result, expectations for service quality increased, and waiters had to change for the better. Then they expected more. From 1900 to the 1920s, tipping became more common, despite reluctance from many hotels. During this period, many hotels and restaurants implemented anti-tipping policies. The issue was so controversial that 6 states banned tipping between 1969 and 1975. But today, tipping culture is deeply ingrained in American life. According to statistics, Americans spend up to $40 billion on tips every year, a number that is even larger than the GDP of some countries. To be more specific, this number is enough to rank exactly 100th in the world when comparing GDP figures by country. That is the reason why there have been many campaigns to eliminate this habit. However, when it has gone beyond the economic category and is deeply rooted in people's culture, eliminating this habit is not an easy task. To put it bluntly, it is like this. Waiter wages are at the heart of this painful story. The minimum wage in the U.S. is $7.25 an hour. But that's the minimum for public employees. The take-home pay for servers is much lower, at around $2.50 an hour. And guess what? That number hasn't changed since the last time the U.S. government published it in 1991. That's what makes servers live off tips. That's why there are funny stories that many restaurants in the U.S. give diners 2 menus with the same dishes, but the prices are different. The cheaper one accepts the beef fee, while the more expensive menu does not require a tip. And this is when diners fall into the trap, because they often choose the menu with the waiter because it looks much cheaper. But when you add up the total bill and add the tip, it's even higher than the menu. Laughing and crying when eating out in America means you have to be good at math. Across the country, people are expressing deep frustration that this culture is getting out of control. Some customers complain about being asked for money for everything from a muffin to a simple cup of coffee. As more businesses adopt digital payment methods, customers are automatically prompted to leave a gratuity after each payment. This form of tipping has created mixed reactions from consumers. Studies show that many customers are annoyed by automatic tipping requirements in coffee shops and counter service establishments, where customers rarely leave tips because the service is limited. So there has been a long-standing movement in the United States to ask restaurants to pay their employees more instead of sucking up their staff and putting all the responsibility for their own survival and customers' tips. But sorry, not yet. when the minimum wage for service workers has not changed in over 30 years. What do you hope for is that restaurant owners will suddenly wake up and become people who love their employees like babies. It's all about profit and loss. And so Americans tip about $40 billion a year for their food. And it doesn't lie. It represents the chronic headache of American consumers in the past few decades. So next time you go to a restaurant, how much will you tip the waiter? 25% is like saying goodbye to America. Say hello to Global Insights in the comments below. And now, goodbye, and see you again. Goodbye, land of the stars and stripes.